Hello again. In our last video, we left you with a daily challenge to go back to your organization and demonstrate some sort of action that you had adopted effectual logic. What did you end up doing? Was it a new idea? Did you discuss it with anyone? Did it lead to new goals or maybe new means? Did you truly act effectually? Now let's just assume for a second that you thought up of a new idea. Maybe you found a problem, maybe you found a need. How would you take that forward? This next video is going to explain lean startup tools and practices that will help bring structure whenever you have such ideas so that you can explore in a systematic and structured way. Let's begin by covering the process. What is the lean startup process? The process is an iterative and incremental way of testing educated guesses or hypotheses about a particular product, service, or idea that you might have that you then test against your intended users or your intended customers through a process that we know as customer development. Unfortunately, it doesn't guarantee success, but it definitely does two things for you. It minimizes the cost and frequency of failure. And for anybody who is allocating resources to the exploration of a new idea, this is a definite win. So while you might not be able to guarantee success, you're at least able to guarantee that any failure and the cost of it will definitely be reduced. One of the biggest advantages of using this process is rather than building upon intuition or your expertise, which are all great starts, it builds on actual facts from the field, so-called hearing it from the horse's mouth, and that is involving the customer intimately from an early stage. This process is called customer development. More specifically, customer development is the process of fitting the right product with the right customer at the right time. Simple? Not by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually quite a difficult process to achieve, especially if you are exploring something totally new. This is why it is so important that when you are conducting customer development, you include the customer at a very early stage. Why? Because as we said in one of the earlier videos, knowing your customer intimately can help you understand where you can create the most value and the most impact, and therefore come up with solutions that create value and are used and adopted by your customers. The process begins by understanding unmet customer needs, and there's a multitude of tools out there for your disposal. Let me mention just a few of them. Shareholder interviews, existing data analysis, customer journeys, process mapping. You might have heard of the value proposition canvas. You might have heard of white spots, the 5 whys. A lot of these are fantastic tools that help you flesh out unmet customer needs that can be turned into opportunities. We are going to cover just 3 of those illustrations. First, let's look at the 5 whys. The 5 whys is a tool that helps you get down to the root cause of any one problem or need. And it starts something like this. You evaluate a process and you start asking why. So for example, our sales partner has not met their sales targets. Why? Well, because our website was late. Why was the website late? Well, product development was late, so it couldn't be put onto the website. Well, why was product development late? Because personnel are working on different projects. Well, why were personnel working on different projects? Because they were given priority to higher monetized projects than the ones that we were working with. This led to a company changing their IT development house. Let me give you a second example of a tool that you can use to explore unmet needs from your customers. If you plot an x-axis and a y-axis, and on the x-axis you put summer versus winter, and on the y-axis you put fruit versus vegetable, this is a way for you to compare something that is not necessarily just comparing good versus bad, but rather different. So if you think of a pumpkin, you probably put that somewhere in the middle. It's a vegetable and it comes out in October roughly, maybe. So it's not necessarily a summer vegetable, and it's definitely not a winter vegetable. So you would place it somewhere in the middle. Where would you place a pineapple? Where would you place a banana? Where would you place a strawberry? Most likely in summer and fruits, right? But this, by you agglomerating particular products, services, or competitors, white spots along that chart will be revealed. These so-called white spots are opportunities for you to fill voids in the marketplace, for you to fill or satisfy unmet needs from your customers. Example number 3. You might have heard of the value proposition canvas. This is one of the most robust tools out there to understand how to create value for customers in terms of the products and services that you are creating. It starts out by analyzing what the customer needs to achieve. What are the functional jobs that your customer needs to get done? In getting those jobs done, your customer might face some pains, something that's really difficult to get across, or maybe it's not optimal in the process of getting their jobs done. At the same time, upon completing the jobs they need to get done, your customer expects a certain level of gains as a result of getting their jobs done. These are opportunities for you to explore what pains, what gains, or what jobs your customer is not doing as best as possible. All of those are opportunities for you to come up with a product, a service, or an offering that satisfies those unmet needs. And now we've come to the daily challenge. What I'd like to leave you with is pick any one of the tools that we've covered in this video and download it from the materials section and use this tool, any one of your choice, in order for you to explore an idea or new innovation at your place of work. Not only do that, but I want you to discuss it with someone who was not involved in the brainstorming of your idea and capture the feedback that they give you using one of these tools.